Representative Canseco, Congressman Canseco, is a Mexican-American Republican. Is that a problem for you? Do you have a fundamental issue with Hispanic Republicans?
Not at all.
So you think it is possible to be a Latino and be a Republican and not have the issue set that might define you as a Latino and the issue set that might define you as a Republican be in conflict? As you know, when Representative Pena switched parties over the last session, there was, aghast. People said, well, how can you possibly represent your district but be a Republican? And he says, look, there are many issues on which the Hispanic community and the Republicans are in league.
Aaron's situation for me was a little different. Aaron had run for chairman of the Democratic Party at one point. Right? That is a complete 180. I mean, I can disagree with somebody. Frankly, I disagree with the Democrats on occasion. I mean, a lot of people wanted to pull back the high-cost exemption on gas, for example. Well, right. I have an oil and gas. I represent an oil and gas district. I mean, you're not going to see me voting
right.
To do that. The energy industry is incredibly important. Does that mean that I'm not a Democrat? No, that just means that in some areas I differ with what everybody else wants.
So the Hispanic community should be and is no more monolithically with one party than the Anglo community is.
I would think that the biggest mistake the Democrats can make is to take the Latino community for granted.
Is the president taking the Latino community for granted in this election? It is often said that the Hispanic community will be the true swing vote in this election, and it could ultimately decide the outcome of the presidential.
I don't think that the president is taking the Latino community for granted. I think the Republicans are helping him.
Republicans are helping the president in what they advocate for.
Republicans are helping the president with Latinos, because every time somebody walks out there and says that, Mr. Kane, who walks out there to somebody who grew up on the border and says, well, why don't we just electrify this fence? Why don't we just shoot him? That kind of rhetoric is offensive, and especially to somebody whose grandmother was from Mexico, and that, frankly, is a lot of us. I mean, who have relatives.
And you think the effect of that kind of rhetoric is to force the Hispanic community en masse into the arms of the Democrats?
Absolutely. I mean, I think if you, I used to worry. President Bush used to come and he would tell me, come home to the Republican Party. He would say, you're really a Republican. You ought to be a Republican. And I used to worry because I would see his polling data, and I would see how many Republicans were switching over, how many Latinos were switching over and voting Republican. I don't worry about that anymore because the Republicans have done such a good job of pushing everybody back at the national level. I mean, Senator McCain, who people really liked because he was so out there on the immigration issue and trying to cut an immigration compromise. And then he turns around later and says, well, these fires that are going on in my home state, they were started by illegal immigrants.
Undocumented folks,
and you're like, really?
So in your mind, from an Obama and the Latinos perspective, the argument is as much in the negative, which is to say that the Republicans have made themselves unappealing, as it is that Obama has done, the president has done anything.
I think that's right.
Do you take issue, some Hispanics consider the president's promise to do comprehensive immigration reform, which he's not actually been able to do, as a negative, a knock on him, and that they think he promised us this in the last election, he didn't actually deliver. Why should we believe him if he promised us?
There's no question in my mind, but that the enthusiasm on both sides, frankly, there doesn't seem to be a lot of enthusiasm for Romney, and certainly the enthusiasm for the president is not what it was.
Right, but in the end, the Hispanic community will come home to the president, you think?
Yeah, no, I think especially the more Republicans talk about things, and right. the more debates that there are, and the more you pander to that right, that extremist set of people that you have to pander to.